folks. Today's segment, as I mentioned, we're going to be speaking about the components of a successful job search, right? Because a job search, just like any other thing or most things in life, you require a strategy, and every strategy has components to it, right? Building blocks, you know, separate, maybe separate, but interconnected components that contribute to the successful outcome of what you're trying to achieve, right? That's pretty much what it comes down to in your job search. So the first key thing is, and by the way, feel free to put in the comments what your experiences have been in your job search as well, right? You wanna be paying attention to what you're doing so you can make the adjustments, right? Because when I start talking about this stuff, you can kind of make mental notes or actually make notes on, hey, what am I doing the right way? What am I doing that maybe needs adjustments? What am I doing that's completely wrong? And if you're not conducting your job search correctly, folks, don't feel bad about it. Okay, like everyone's, I mean, myself included, back when I was, before I got into recruitment, when I was a new graduate, when I was a student, I mean, I was making so I was making so I was making so many mistakes in my job search. I had zero clue what I was doing. The only reason I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the job search was when I started working in recruitment, because I get to be on the other side of the table, right? So that's what gives me a lot of insights into what people are doing right, what people are doing wrong, what's effective, what's not effective. And I've also applied those things in my career as well, which has gotten me great successful results. But the first main thing is, and this is one of the most important components to your successful job search, is having a compelling resume. The keyword here, folks, is compelling. It has to be a compelling resume, right? And before I even get into that, I just want to let you know, right? A lot of you are being sold on this pitch going around about, oh, you need an ATS template for your resume, an ATS friendly resume, and all this stuff. I'll tell you right now, guys. All right, this whole ATS resume thing, it's complete garbage, complete nonsense. It's a scam. There's no way that there's no such thing as an ATS um, as an ATS resume, right? And I know there's a lot of these posts going around. Oh, you need an ATS resume. 80% of jobs are on the hidden job market. All these things. So when I say a compelling resume, what that means is it has to be relevant to the reader. Now, the example I like to use is, think about when you're reading a book, right? Think about when you're reading a book, or think about the author writing a book. Now, an author writing a book, of course, wants to convey their own ideas, their own perspective, their own experiences, and all that on into this book. But if they do not write the book with the reader in mind, then it's not going to matter. Like, the book is not going to sell any copies. So the book needs to be written, um, of course, with the author's perspective and their thoughts and everything in mind, but it has to be written with the reader in mind. And this is what's missing from many of you on your resumes, is you're writing a whole bunch of stuff talking about, what you did, and, maybe all your duties, your responsibilities, your tasks, definitely things that are very important. But what's going to be appealing to the reader? Think about it, folks. What's going to be appealing to the recruiter, to the HR person, to the hiring manager? Probably the most important person is the hiring manager, because the hiring manager is the one who makes the hiring decision. They're the ones that are probably involved in setting aside the budget, approving the budget to actually invest in someone to be brought on to the company to help them achieve XYZ, whatever that is. So if your resume is not speaking to those individuals, the recruiter, the HR person, the hiring manager, the stakeholders involved in the recruitment process, that's why a lot of you are not getting attention on your resume. Now, I did want to also emphasize is that ultimately, even if your resume does get in front of a recruiter, if it's not compelling, it's not going to make a difference. If it's not speaking to their problems, to their challenges, their business problems, the things that they need your help with, then it's not going to make a difference. So you need to make sure that your resume is detailing not only information about yourself and your expertise, your accomplishments, and all that stuff. Of course, all that stuff, but specifically relevant stuff. Relevant, folks. If you're taking notes, write this down. Your resume must convey relevant information. relevant. Please, please, please write that down if you're taking notes, because that's what's going to grab the attention of the people you're putting your resume in front of. Recruiters, HR people, hiring managers, whoever other stakeholders are involved in the recruitment hiring process at the organization. If it's not relevant, it's not going to grab their attention. Okay, so you can climb to the top of a mountain, talk about all of your accomplishments all day long, but if it's not relevant, It's not going to grab anyone's attention. It's not going to grab the attention of the organizations that you want to work for, right? So again, when you're going over your resume today or after this session, you want to be asking yourself, hey, when I'm applying to jobs, am I highlighting relevant information? And I also want to emphasize, yes, this does mean you do have to customize your resume for every single job that you're applying for, every single job, folks, right? I know that's tedious. I know that's that it's time consuming. Here, that's the harsh reality, folks. Like you got to be customizing your resume for every single position, simply because of what I just said. Your resume needs to speak to the reader. It has to speak to the organization. It has to speak to the hiring motivations that the company has for hiring you, right? If you have a one size fits all resume, I mean, then you're purely. I mean, okay, look, if you have a one size fits all resume, that's fine, but that means you got to play. You have to purely play the numbers game. The numbers game means apply to as many positions out there. Just keep throwing your resume out there, hundreds and thousands of applications, whatever it is, and of course, statistically, something's gonna hit. But a more effective approach is to customize your resume, convey what is most relevant to the organization based on the job description or based on your conversation with someone who referred you for the job. That's what's going to increase your chances of getting that initial interest from recruiters, from HR people, and from hiring managers. All right. So the resume is one of those key components that you have to, again, just to summarize what I was speaking about the resume, what it comes down to is convey relevant information on your resume. The relevant information is going to grab their attention, and that's how they're going to start seeing you as their next potential hire who's going to help them with XYZ business problems that they need your help with, right? Let's see, we got some comments here. We got some more people writing here. Arena says relevant. Yeah, that's right, Arena, relevant. So relevant means it has to be in relation to something that the organization is experiencing and going through, right? So as a quick example for Arena and everyone else out there, let's say you're a project manager. Okay, let's say you're a project manager. You're experienced with various different types of projects. Okay, let's say you have experience as a project manager in construction projects, in retail projects, in I don't know, e-commerce projects. Okay, so you got a couple of different areas that you have experience with, right? But let's say you're applying to a job and it's at Amazon. Amazon's an e-commerce company, right? And specifically, this position is for an e-commerce related project. Now, what that means is on your resume, sure, you can mention your construction projects and sure, you can mention your retail projects, but you want to put special emphasis on your resume. You want to emphasize your experience with those e-commerce projects that you completed as a project manager, because that's what's going to be most relevant, right? And again, relevant meaning what is most applicable to the problems and challenges the organization is facing, because that's why they want to invest in a new hire, folks, right? That's why they want to invest in you potentially to be brought onto their team so you can help them resolve a similar situation that you have resolved in the past. That's what makes your resume compelling and powerful. They got to be able to read your resume and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this person has done something very much similar to what we're facing right now in the past. So that's why relevance is so important. All right. So moving on to the next one, the next most important aspect of your job search, the next most important component of your job search is your LinkedIn profile. Now you got to make sure your LinkedIn profile. First of all, you got to make sure you don't have an empty LinkedIn profile, folks. I'm seeing, like, I'm laughing out of frustration, right? Because I see so many talented people with like empty LinkedIn profiles. Like I go to their LinkedIn profile, there's like no information. It just has their name, their title. Maybe they list the names of the companies they were working at, but no other information. How's that helpful, folks? Right? Especially for those of you who are actively messaging people on LinkedIn. You're like, hey, Dean, I'm on the market for blah, blah, blah opportunities. Let me know if you want to see my resume, or let me know if you think I might be the right fit. Now, obviously, if you're going to be messaging me on LinkedIn, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to download your resume. I'm going to go to your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to go to your LinkedIn profile. If it's empty, I mean, how does that serve you, folks, right? How does that serve you? It doesn't do you any good. If you're going to be on LinkedIn, you got to make sure you have a fully filled out, fully detailed, optimized LinkedIn profile. Okay, you got to fill in the details about your, of course, the previous companies you worked at, the dates that you were working at those companies, and also for each company, what did you do there? What were the, if you're in tech, What were the technologies? What was the technical environment? What were the tools, software, programming languages, whatever it is related to your role? What were you doing there? What was the project you were working on? What were the accomplishments? What were the achievements that you did while you were in that role? Maybe you were there for many years, so maybe you did multiple different types of positions within those companies. Maybe there was multiple different types of projects you completed within those companies. Like, you got to list these things out on your LinkedIn profile as well, right? I mean, look, your LinkedIn profile is now I'll be the first to say, not everyone needs to be on LinkedIn. Okay, so maybe this might not apply to all of you, but if HR people, if recruiters, if hiring managers, if organizations are looking for people with your skill set on LinkedIn, then that means you should be on LinkedIn. And one of the best ways to check if that's the case in your situation is, go to LinkedIn, go to the jobs section on LinkedIn, and search for your job title. If you're seeing a whole bunch of roles, a whole bunch of job postings for your title, your job, or your type of position, then that's probably a sign that you should be on LinkedIn. You should be active, and you should have a fully completed LinkedIn profile. Because again, if your LinkedIn profile is not properly completed and filled in, first of all, people visiting your profile, they're not going to get any value out of reading your profile. They're not going to get any insight into who you are, what you bring to the table, all that amazing expertise you bring to the table. How are they going to know, folks? How are they going to know? We're not psychics here, right? Like, we can't read into what your career history is if you're not filling in your LinkedIn profile. Now, the second reason why your LinkedIn profile needs to be fully completed and filled in is, and I think I should have mentioned this as the number one thing, is you won't be searchable. Your profile will not be searchable, right? When recruiters are looking for relevant, or when recruiters are looking for candidates on LinkedIn, they're going to be doing a search. Okay, it's called a Boolean search. Feel free to Google that, or that could be an entirely different live stream I can do on its own. So maybe I'll cover that in the future. But us recruiters, what we do on LinkedIn is we conduct what's called a Boolean search, and that's where we include certain search terms and skill sets and all this stuff related to the types of individuals that we're looking for the hiring team or for our clients. Now, guess what? If your LinkedIn profile is empty, you're definitely not gonna show up in search results, folks, right? And again, I'm laughing because it's very frustrating because I see so many great people who don't take the time to fill in their LinkedIn profile. And I'm talking like very impressive career histories, very impressive career backgrounds. But if you're not filling in your LinkedIn profile, because when you fill in your LinkedIn profile, you're mentioning what you did, the skills you have, the tasks you did, certain processes, maybe certain methodologies you worked with, certain technologies, software, hardware, whatever it is. These enrich your LinkedIn profile with more keywords. And the more relevant keywords you have, the more likely you're going to get found when recruiters are doing those keyword searches on LinkedIn to find people potentially with your skills and experiences, right? So this is why it's extremely, folks, please, okay, if there's nothing else you take from today's session, please fill in your LinkedIn profile. Please take the time and effort to fill in your LinkedIn profile so that recruiters, HR people, hiring managers, whoever it is, at least they can find you. At least they can find you. Your profile is searchable. It has the keywords. They can find you. And at least you can generate some interest, maybe a conversation, an email, a message, which leads to a phone call or something of that sort, right? So make sure your LinkedIn profile is completely filled in and detailed. Let's see if I have any comments here. So Habib says, I would say a tailored application is more than a relevant resume. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Habib, because you can tailor your application, but if your resume isn't customized and it's not speaking to, again, what's most compelling to the reader, it's not going to make much of a difference. Like they're gonna be thinking, okay, how is this person relevant for this role? Because going back to the example I said about the project manager, okay, sure, maybe you do everything right in the application stage, right? You're filling out the online job application, all that stuff. Sure, that's fine. But if they come to your resume and they're not seeing the relevant projects highlighted, then again, they might pass on your resume. And I'm speaking from experience as a recruiter, because if I look at your resume and you haven't customized it and you haven't highlighted the relevant experience, I might see you as a generalist. I might see you as someone who maybe has not specialized enough in the area that is required for the position, right? So you gotta make sure that you're keeping this in mind as well. So now going on to the next, and folks, feel free to keep the questions coming in the comments. All right, keep the questions coming. I want to finish speaking about the topic, and at the Q&A part, I'm going to get to all your questions. All right, so don't think I'm ignoring your questions. Just keep the questions coming. I will respond to those at the end. Now, the third component to your successful job search is compelling communication. Now, this comes down to your when you're reaching out to recruiters or HR people, when you're direct messaging them on LinkedIn, when you're writing an email, maybe you're writing an email, you're writing an email because you got their email address. This is where I see many people fall short. Um, a lot of you folks are not getting to the point in your messaging, especially on LinkedIn. You're trying to engage in too much small talk. You're writing messages that are too short. For example, you're treating it like almost like it's texting, right? You're like, hey, or hi, how are you? And you're not writing anything beyond that point. And this is where you got to understand that you should not be treating LinkedIn messaging like it's texting or WhatsApp or instant messaging. It's not. It's a professional platform. And I know it's very tempting because when you're using the LinkedIn app on your phone, it feels like you're texting, right? So it's natural for some of you to just message people and be like, "Hi, how are you?" or "Hey, how's it going?" or "Hi" or "Good morning," and you're not writing anything else beyond that point. I get it, folks, because it's you're doing it on your phone, so it feels almost like texting, right? So it's not entirely your fault. But what I want to tell you is you gotta write complete messages, especially when you're trying to reach out and contact recruiters, HR people, especially hiring managers. I mean, we're constant, especially recruiters and HR people, especially HR people who are focused on talent acquisition, and corporate recruiters, internal recruiters. Where our entire day is based on communicating with people. Like that's all we're doing. So if you're being mysterious or your message just says hi or how are you and nothing else, like a lot of us don't have time to go back and forth with you to figure out what you want. So in your communication with recruiters and HR people and talent acquisition people, you got to be direct, you got to be concise, and you got to be to the point, and you got to grab attention. So when you're writing a message, you got to introduce them a bit about yourself, right? So what do you do? What skill sets you have? And what you want from them? Are you reaching out because in regards to a job posting? Are you reaching out simply because you want to network with them? Are you reaching out because you want to talk about future opportunities? Why are you reaching out, right? This is a major component that's missing from so many people's LinkedIn messages, emails, and all that stuff, right? You got to make it as easy as possible for the recipient. Okay, so the recipient will be me as a recruiter, for me to figure out what you want, what you bring to the table, what type of roles you're interested in, and what you want to happen as a next step, right? So you got to make sure your LinkedIn messages and even your emails, for that matter, they're complete, they're direct, they're concise, they're to the point, and you got to make sure that it is. And as a result of doing that, your communication is going to be more compelling, right? Which is something you definitely want to make sure is happening when you're reaching out to recruiters and HR people and hiring managers on LinkedIn. Because look, you might only get one opportunity to really grab their attention. Especially recruiters, especially people working in talent acquisition, we're getting a whole bunch of messages every day. And if your message isn't compelling, if it doesn't capture attention, we're probably going to move on to the next message, or we might even just simply lose track of your message. So while you have the person's attention, while they're reading your message, is when you got to make sure it is compelling, it grabs attention, and within a few seconds, it communicates to them everything they need to know as to whether or not they should be continuing the engagement with you, because you're a potential fit for a role that they're currently looking to hire for, right? Now, what's the next one? The next most important component, component number 4, the ability to handle interviews. Now, this is probably the most obvious one, which a lot of you are probably first comes to mind when you're thinking about job searching. But the ability to handle interviews. Now, look, first, let me say this first. If you're not seeing success in your interviews, don't feel bad about yourself, folks. All right, a lot of you are really hard on yourself because you're getting interviews maybe, but you're not able to pass the interview stage. You're not getting job offers, or maybe your first interviews are not resulting in second interviews, third interviews, fourth interviews, etc., etc., and you're not getting job offers. So you might be thinking, oh my gosh, like what's wrong? Am I the problem? Like, do I lack potential? Do I lack talent? Do I lack ability? Some of you might be feeling that, right? And the answer is no. It has nothing to do with that, guys. Interviewing is a completely separate skill set in and of itself. It is a completely separate skill set. So if you're failing at interviews, that is no reflection on you as a whatever you are, project manager, software developer, help desk analyst, customer service agent, whatever it is. It does not mean you're an incompetent. It doesn't mean you lack ability, you lack potential, you lack talent. It's none of that, because interviewing is a completely separate skill set. I would actually also say job searching in general, job searching as a whole, is an entirely different skill set in and of itself, right? Because it's like a totally different ballgame. I mean, those of you watching, let me know in the comments if you feel like, oh my gosh, like what do I do? This is like, this whole job search thing. It's almost like I have to learn an entirely new skill set. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know in the comments, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the same thing with interviews. Your ability to interview well is a completely separate skill set, right? And it is a completely separate skill set that requires study, practice, and rehearsal as well. You got to practice interviewing as well. And what I want to and there's so many aspects of the interview I can talk about. I mean, there's just so many aspects, right? But the one of the main things I want to leave you with is you got to understand what the interview is about. The interview is not just about you. It's not just about you as a potential candidate. It's not just about the recruiter, the HR person, the organization. It's not about the organization itself as well. It's neither of those. What it is an intersection of both of those two factors, which is yourself and the organization. Now, what is the uniting factor between the organization, their hiring need, their motivation to hire, their business problems, their challenges? What is the common factor between that and you, which is an individual who brings certain skills, experiences, knowledge, expertise, all that previous work experience you have to the table? What is the uniting factor? The uniting factor is the relevant skills, knowledge, experiences, and expertise you bring to the table. That's really what it's about. That's what the interview is about. Whenever you're at an interview, always remember what the interviewer is really thinking is, how can this person help us with the problem that we have going on at this organization right now, or in relation to this project? And what you're probably thinking is, hey, is this the right company for me? Is this the right team that I want to be part of? Am I going to be happy here? And of course, you're trying to think of, hey, how can I impress this hiring manager? How can I impress the interviewer and all that stuff? And that's what it really comes down to, folks. Right? Remember what I said before when I was talking about the resume. It comes down to relevant skills. What relevant skills, knowledge, expertise you bring to the table that is most relevant to the hiring team, that's going to help them with this challenge or problem that they're facing. Right? Because they're looking to invest money in you. Always keep that in mind. This is an investment. Okay. So actually, I would say don't even look at the interview as an interview. Look at it almost like a product sales presentation. You are the product, folks. You are the product, and the company is the customer. Right? The organization that you're interviewing with is the customer, and the customer has a problem which requires you as the solution. You are the solution. They want to potentially invest in you to be brought on to help them with this problem that they're experiencing. And you're going to solve that problem using your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your experiences, everything you bring in the past. Right? So, and of course, I want to emphasize again, relevant experience, relevant expertise, relevant skills. That's what they want to find out. That is the fundamental to any job interview. So whenever you're at an interview, you're like, oh my God, am I doing well? What am I doing? What should I do? How should I answer this? How should I answer that? Always remember that one thing the hiring team is wondering as they're sitting in front of you. How is this person going to help us with this problem that we're currently experiencing, or this project that we're currently experiencing? Which brings me to the second thing I want to talk about in relation to interviews. You have to strengthen your understanding of the hiring need, the hiring motivation, and the problems and challenges the organization is facing. The stronger your understanding of these problems, these challenges, the outcomes they want to achieve, the more stronger your understanding is of that stuff, the more better able you're going to be to know exactly what you want to highlight and talk about in regards to yourself during the course of the interview. Right? Because if you know the problem, you're going to know exactly what you want to be talking about. Okay, if I have a problem, if my problem is, I don't have a good, I don't know, what's a good example here? I'm trying to think of like a metaphor or some kind of a analogy. If I don't have a good phone, right? If I'm not happy with this phone, if you're someone selling phones, You got to find out why I'm not happy with this current phone that I have, right? You're going to be like, Dean, okay, fine. You're looking for a new phone. What is the problem you're facing with your current phone? Oh, well, it runs out of battery real quick. The camera is terrible. I like taking pictures, when I'm going out and stuff like that for my Instagram. The phone is also really slow, so it's terrible when I need to, do stuff on my phone. Now, when I tell you those problems with my phone, what does that tell you as someone who sells phones? You know exactly what you want to be talking about. You want to be talking about battery life. You want to be talking about great camera. You want to be talking about speed, a phone that maybe a phone with a very good processor or whatnot, right? Those are the three things you want to emphasize. Now, you can talk about other aspects of the phone. Oh, it's a nice phone. It looks nice. It's hardy. It's sturdy. It's got this. It's got that. Yeah, you definitely want to talk about the other bells and whistles, but at its core, you need to be speaking about those three things: battery life, great camera, and great processing speed on the phone. Why? Because those are the main challenges I'm facing as someone who needs a new phone. So it's the same thing at interviews, folks. Throughout the interview, you as well need to be asking your own questions to better grasp the challenges the hiring team is facing, the problems they're facing, all those things that are giving them headaches, right? And let me end off by saying this: the better able you are, the better you're able to show the hiring team how you can make their life easier, the more they're going to see you as a strong potential hire, right? As long as you're leveraging your skills, your expertise, all that amazing stuff you bring to the table, if you can show how you're going to use all that stuff to make their life easier, I mean, you're going to be on a different level, folks, right? Now the fifth thing I want to talk about is social media strategy. Social media strategy, okay? Like LinkedIn is one of the best platforms to do this, right? At least from a professional context. It could depend on your profession, of course, but for most of you tuning in, LinkedIn is probably the best way to establish your professional brand. Now, I want to tell you one thing in relation to social media strategy. Social media strategy is a long-term strategy. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay. So if you guys think that, oh, I'm going to go on, I'm going to start, writing stuff on LinkedIn. I'm going to post this. I'm going to do this video. Like I see this all the time. I see people suddenly get so enthusiastic about posting on LinkedIn. And I know after a few weeks, they're just going to give up. They're going to be like, oh, it's not getting me anything. Social media strategy in relation to your profession, in relation to your, building your professional brand, folks, it is a long-term strategy. I'm talking years. Okay. This is something you want to invest your time in over a few years, right? I started posting on LinkedIn back in, when was it? 2016. Back in 2016, I started posting on LinkedIn, just one post every day. I'd share some kind of job search tip or advice. And I ended off by saying, hey, by the way, if you're an IT professional in Toronto, my name's Dean. I'm an IT recruiter. Feel free to reach out for any recruitment openings that I might be working on. I post advice. I ended off with sharing my my contact details and all that stuff. I did that every day, over and over and over again, since 2016. Now, since 2018 or so, I started doing videos and articles, and 2019 I started doing live streams and a whole bunch of stuff. But it's only and I think it was in 2019 that I started getting invited to speaking engagements, speaking events, and all that stuff. So 2016 to 2019, that's like 3 years just to get to a point where I was getting invited to speaking events as a keynote speaker or a panelist speaker and all that stuff. Now, you might be thinking, Dean, I don't care. I don't want to be a panelist speaker or a speaker or anything like that. Well, okay, fine. But let me tell you this, folks. When you start getting into, getting invited to such events, or let's say you don't do those events. Let's say you just become someone very popular on LinkedIn. Like you get people commenting on your posts. They find your posts extremely valuable in your industry. You start getting career opportunities inbound. You start getting approached by companies about job opportunities, career opportunities. I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, at this point, I'm running my own recruitment business for the past year and over a year and a half. So I'm obviously not looking for career opportunities, but every week I get companies reaching out to me about career opportunities, right? I mean, imagine if it did come to a point that I was considering career opportunities. I mean, it's just amazing, right? Simply because I put in the time and effort to invest in my social media brand over a few years. So when you're considering your LinkedIn strategy or whatever, maybe you're posting stuff about your profession, your career, maybe you're sharing tips and advice in the tech industry and all that stuff. Don't just try it out for a few weeks and think it's not working. No, this is like you build the momentum over months and months and months, maybe even years and years. And finally, after a few years, you're gonna notice people are gonna start reaching out. They're gonna be like, "Hey, I saw your post about, JavaScript frameworks. We're actually looking for someone with those skills at our company. Would you be interested in speaking more?" You're gonna start getting inquiries like this, right? But again, social media is a long-term strategy, and it's one of the greatest long-term investments, especially on LinkedIn. If you can commit, let's say not every day, let's say you want to write a post like once a week. Okay, something where you share advice about being a Java developer, you share advice about a common problem in your industry. Like these are the stuff that's going to attract the attention of hiring managers, hiring teams, recruiters, HR people. You keep doing that over and over and over again. It builds momentum, folks. It builds momentum. Right now, I started back in 2016. I think now, as of now, I have over 80,000 followers on LinkedIn. You don't have to have that many followers. Like, I started getting these opportunities when I started getting around, I think when I started accumulating maybe a thousand, 2,000, 3,000 followers or something. Like, you start accumulating opportunities at that point, right? But you have to put in the time and effort. So share your knowledge, whatever your field is. Okay, you're a project manager, you're a business analyst, you're a Java developer, a JavaScript developer, .NET developer, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, folks. The greatest source of content is your experiences, the things that you have experienced in your job, because the challenges and problems that you have experienced in your job, in your profession, in your career in the past, these are the things businesses are experiencing every single day, and that's what they're looking to hire people for as well, every single day. So talk about those things. Now, I'm not saying talk about those classified stuff or non-disclosure. I'm not saying violate any non-disclosure agreements. No, I'm not talking about that. But even at a conceptual level, you can talk about the problems that you have faced as a whatever you are again in the past, and talk about how you went about resolving those, or what are some helpful things you did that helped you resolve the issue. Right? Obviously, you can't include the whole entire solution online. I mean, that would take. I mean, that's like a whole nother. No one's going to expect you to do that, but that's how you demonstrate your expertise in your field, right? Those of you who are new graduates, you're students. I mean, don't give me that excuse. Oh, Dean, I'm a student. I'm a new graduate. I don't have a work experience. I can. No, you can talk about your school projects. You can talk about the challenges you experienced while you were doing your school project, right? While you were working as part of a team. Maybe some interpersonal challenges, interpersonal dynamics that were part of a team environment, or working as part of a team, right? No excuses here, guys. There's no excuses. I don't care if you're a new graduate, entry level. You have plenty of material to speak about that you can post about on LinkedIn. And not just on LinkedIn, also on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile. Talk about your school projects and all that stuff, right? So that is the fifth component, folks. Again, I just wanted to wrap it up by saying social media, like, that's a long-term play. It is a long-term play. Look to, don't care about the likes. When I first started posting stuff on LinkedIn back in 2016, I mean, I'd be so happy if I got like 1 or 2 likes, right? I mean, if I got 5 likes, oh man, I'd celebrate, right? So don't think about the likes. It's not about the likes. Trust me, people are reading your posts, but for whatever reason, they forgot to hit like. They didn't want to comment. They didn't want to publicly, for some reason, hit like or comment or something like that. Who knows? People have their own reasons for not engaging in content, right? But that does not mean people are not reading your stuff, folks. So don't get discouraged when you start posting stuff on LinkedIn. Nobody's liking it. Don't worry about the likes. Do not do it for the ego gratification. Don't do it for the ego gratification. Do it from the standpoint of, hey, I'm providing value to my network. I'm providing value to the world out there. Someone's going to benefit from it. That should be good enough. But in the meantime, as you keep posting, right, consistently, maybe it's every week, maybe it's every day. If it's every day, I mean, hey, I would highly recommend that. But maybe it's not every day. Maybe it's 2-3 times a week, right? If you do that consistently, what you're going to see is over a couple of months, over a couple of years, people are going to start sending you connection requests. People are going to start reaching out to you for advice. Hiring managers are going to start noticing you and reaching out and be like, oh, hey, I saw your post about XYZ. We actually have that problem right now. We're actually interviewing for people. Would you be interested in a further conversation? What if that happens, right? But you got to invest the time and effort when it comes to social media over time. So look, I hope this segment helped all of you out there. Make sure you hit like and share. If you found this segment helpful, I will get to your question shortly. But again, I did want to quickly, before I get into your questions, I did want to again announce to everyone, I'm very excited to announce my 8-week group coaching program, the 360 Job Search Bootcamp. We're starting on May 31st, and I want to keep it. I don't want to make it too big of a group, because I want to make sure it's intimate, and I'm able to interact with everyone, because I want to make the sessions as interactive as possible. And again, it's going to be an 8-week group coaching program. This is ideal for anyone. So if you're someone watching, you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do in my job search. I don't know what to do with my resume. I don't know what to do with my LinkedIn profile. I don't know how to handle the interviews. I don't know how to handle conversations with recruiters, with HR people, and all that stuff. If that's you, this is the ideal boot camp for you. I'm taking you from the A to the Z of your job search, right? Everything from resume, LinkedIn profile optimization, all that stuff, all the way through to social media strategy, salary negotiation, all that stuff. So I'm going to be starting. So the first session is going to be Wednesday, May 31st. So that's in about, I think, 2 weeks. And you're going to get me live. This is not pre-recorded. Okay. This is not pre-recorded. You're not going to get virtual, pre-recorded Dean. You're going to get me live just like this. The difference is you're going to be able to interact with me live. Okay. It's going to be on Zoom. We're going to be engaging with each other. I'm going to be speaking about the topic. I'm going to be fielding your questions live, direct, one-on-one, as part of a group. I did want to emphasize it is a group program. Pretty much, throughout the session, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be incorporating exercises, so that during the session, I'm going to speak about a topic, and I'm going to be giving an activity that you can perform right there to make sure that you grasp the understanding of what is being taught. Right now, for more information about this group coaching program, feel free to head over to my Linktree page, linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. It starts Wednesday, May 31st. We're going to be meeting every week, right? Every week on Wednesday. It's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern time zone on Wednesdays, May 31st onwards. You can head on over to techrecruiters360.podia.com/coaching, or much more simpler would be the link, which is on my Linktree page, which again is scrolling down there below. It's linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. Now, the pricing it's a one-time payment of $299 Canadian. And again, folks, you're getting 8 weeks of live coaching. Okay, 8 weeks back to every single week. We're going to be meeting live. And also after each session, you're going to be getting a recording of the session as well, which you can access through the dashboard. So let's say you can't attend one of the sessions. Let's say, you go through the whole program, and maybe a couple of years from now, you want to watch the videos again, you will get lifetime access to the recordings, right? And so it's a one-time payment, $299 Canadian for 2 months of coaching, all right? 2 months, 8 weeks of coaching. I made it as reasonable as possible and as affordable as possible for those of you out there who need more assistance in your job search. I'm going to continue putting out the free content. And folks, if you want to continue taking advantage of my free content, I'm going to keep that coming, okay? Because I know not everyone has the money to invest in anything for that matter right now, and I totally understand that. So for those of you who can't afford this, hey, go to my YouTube channel. I have over 600 videos on my YouTube channel. Check out my Instagram. I think I used to my older Instagram posts. I used to put daily video tips. Check out my live streams. I've been doing live streams since 2019. Check out my LinkedIn newsletters, which I have over 60 newsletter editions I've released so far. LinkedIn articles, I have over 130. By the way, I don't know why LinkedIn categorizes those separately, like newsletters and articles, because I don't know, they're pretty much the same in my opinion. But anyway, I have over 130 articles. I post almost every single day. I post something or the other on LinkedIn. So if you can't afford this, continue following my free content. I'm going to continue doing that. But for those of you who need that additional guidance, you don't have the time to go through my YouTube videos, my content and curating all that stuff. I will be guiding you again, I'll be pretty much hand guiding you through the components of your job search to help you out with that. Right. So for those of you who want a breakdown of what's going to be covered on the program, so this is what it's going to look like, right? This is what it's going to look like over the 8 weeks. So week 1, we're going to be covering your resume, right? So I'm going to be covering the fundamentals of your resume, how to structure your resume, the components of your resume, how you should be dividing your resume. Those things going around that might be myths about the resume, such as the ATS thing that I was talking about. So this is a very, very important way I wanted to open it up, because that is probably the most important thing you want to be dealing with in your job search, right? Because I wanted to make the program so that you can get started and start getting results as soon as possible. So the resume is the first thing we're going to be going over. Week two, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering your LinkedIn profile optimization, how to optimize your resume, your LinkedIn profile, how to make sure it's keyword rich and friendly, which sections you need to fill out on your LinkedIn profile, and everything that's important and that's going to get you more visibility on your LinkedIn profile. Week three, we're going to be covering job search strategy. This is okay. You got your resume ready. You got your LinkedIn profile resume. Your LinkedIn profile optimized. How are you going to approach and structure your job search from this point onward? So we're going to be talking about job search strategy, what you need to be doing, how you need to be planning out your day, what actions do you need to be taking on a day-to-day basis. Week four, we're going to be covering in more detail of writing effective email and LinkedIn messages. So if part of your current strategy, or maybe in the future you want to be doing this, this is where I'm going to be speaking about how to create compelling messages that are going to grab the attention of recruiters, HR people, and hiring managers. And one of the main things I'm going to be covering in there is the four components to an effective message that's going to increase your chances of getting responses from recruiters, from HR people, from hiring managers that you reach out to in your job search. Week five, we're going to be covering the pre-screen with recruiters in HR. And this is a very, very, I would say, undervalued part of the job search, because most of your conversations will be with recruiters. And this is actually a poll that I did some time ago, where I asked everyone, what is, thinking back on the majority of job interviews that you've attended in the recently on the past, in most cases, who was your initial first conversation with in the process? And almost 60% of you said recruiters, right? Your first conversation is going to be with the recruiter. So that's why I wanted to create a completely separate section in this program in that week, where we speak about how to manage those initial conversations with recruiters and with HR people, because again, that's a very important conversation, which is going to determine whether a further conversation will even take place. So that's what I'm going to be covering on week five. Week six, we're going to be talking about interview preparation tips, how you can succeed at interviews and give yourself a winning chance during the interviews, what type of questions to anticipate, and how do you respond to questions such as, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How do you respond to those questions, right? So I'm going to be going over the mechanics of responding to these questions. Week seven, negotiating salary and rate. We're going to be covering that. And also week eight is what I spoke about today as well, which is your social media strategy. How to effectively create a strong presence for yourself on LinkedIn, especially, so that it gets you incoming leads over the next couple of years of your career and whatnot. Right. So again, it's going to be a fantastic information-packed 8-week program, folks. And again, let me put up the pricing here again. And for more information, by the way, you can check out the website, my website again. For more information, again, it's linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. It's going to be scrolling down here below. But again, it's $299, one-time payment, 8 weeks of group coaching. And what I'm going to be focusing on the program really is really driving in the mechanics of job searching for each of those things: resume, LinkedIn, interviewing skills, messaging, talking, how to deal with your conversations with recruiters, salary negotiation, interview preparation, like all these things. What I want to focus on, what I want to deliver to you, for those of you who sign up, is the mechanics of doing it. Like you've heard that phrase, right? Give a person a fish and they eat for a day. Teach a person to fish and they're set for life. They know how to feed themselves for life. So I want to go with that second scenario. I don't want to just give you template, just throw templates in your faces and do this and oh, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that, but I'm also going to teach you the mechanics so you can think independently, and so that you don't need to take such a program ever again in the future, because you understand the mechanics and you understand the fundamentals behind why I'm telling you to do what you should be doing in your job search, right? So again, folks, if you have any questions about this, definitely feel free to reach out to me directly. And again, we're starting on Wednesday, May 31st. Again, it's going to be me coaching you live. Again, it's going to be a group coaching program. So it's going to be a couple of other, I haven't really decided where I want to cut off how many people, but at a maximum, I would say I want to keep it to between maybe, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 people max, right? That sign up for this. because again, I want to keep it very interactive, very intimate, and I want to be able to interact with everyone who does join the group program for each session. So again, we're starting Wednesday, May 31st. If you have any questions at all whatsoever, feel free to let me know. Also, there is an FAQ page on the website regarding this. So again, the website is techrecruiters360.podia.com/coaching. Or again, you can hit the link. You can go to the link scrolling down here below, which is linktr.ee/DK Tech Recruiter. So everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and make sure you tune in every week, Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern time zone for my live stream. I will drop a link to this page, by the way, in the comments shortly. But thanks everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you around next time. Take care, everyone.